Hey guys, what's up? It's Chris. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than my normal content, but I was doing a live stream on my second channel and the subject came up and you guys seem to really want to hear my story of my near-death experience. So I'm going to do it today, and if you guys don't want to hear this, if you want to skip the video, go ahead and do that. You can watch one of my other videos and come back to the next video that I do. All right, so it was around 30 years ago. It was a long time ago, about 30 years ago. I was 14 or 15 years old. So I was about in ninth grade at the time. And at that time, I had been pretty sheltered as a kid, so my parents didn't let me do a lot of things. But I met some new friends in high school. My high school went from 8th grade to 12th grade, and I was in ninth grade. So probably almost 15, somewhere around there. And I met two friends that I'm still friends with to this day. Actually, one of them I've told you about several times. One of my friends that actually went vegetarian the same day I did, and we both got the same tattoo on our hand. He still lives in the area. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him in quite some time. I still talk to him maybe once or twice a year. But anyway, we became friends because we all loved skateboarding, and they were skateboarders from the next town over. We went to the same school, but they lived maybe 10, 15 miles from me and the next town over. And at that time, I wanted to go hang out with these friends, and prior to that, my mom, like I said, I was very sheltered. I wasn't able to do a lot of things, especially at that age. Being the oldest out of my siblings, I was the one that was that kind of got grounded the most, and not able to do a lot of things. But after I grew up, my younger brothers, it was easier on them. So anyway, we started hanging out, we skateboarded a lot, and I really begged my mom if I could go over to their house and spend the night at my buddy's house. We were to spend the night in this camper. He's got a camper outside of his house, and I had a TV in it and all that. Now, he lived in a very, very small house with his brother and his mother's boyfriend. And I remember the front door didn't even lock on the house, and it was right off of a main road, and it was by a farmland. There was a barbed wire fence that was right on his property line, and there was cows over there. And he had this camper in the front yard, and that's where we spent the night. So I remember it was a Saturday because we were watching Saturday Night Live on this tiny, tiny little television. Me and his brother were. And on the other side of the camper, which was, just an arm's length away, was my friend, and he was on the phone. They had a phone in there. So he was on the phone. We had these kind of phones back then, with his girlfriend at the time. And now they're married. So they've been together for 30 years. It's crazy. Crazy to think about that. But so he's talking to his girlfriend, and me and his brother were kind of just like joking around, making up stupid, silly songs. So I remember we were kind of like teasing him, and at one point, his younger brother says, I got to get up and take a pee outside, and I'm like, you know what, I do too. So he said something to me as he was getting out of the camper, something really important that I didn't hear what he said. I knew he said something, but I didn't hear what he said. So I decided, I'll just follow him out there and I'll ask him what he said when I get out there. So it wasn't pouring out, but it was raining a little bit, like a little more than a sprinkle, but less than like a real rain. And it was late because we were watching Saturday Night Live, probably around midnight. And it was in the middle of the summer. We were barefoot. His brother jumped out of the camper, and then I went to leave the camper, and they the steps, they were kind of like spiky, but not like real spiky, but the gription spikes, like the little kind of like jaggedy, so you don't slip or whatever. That's what the steps were like. And again, I didn't hear what he said to me, which was pretty important, but I grabbed the side of the camper and I lowered myself down to the ground to exit the camper with my bare feet. And the next thing I know, I felt this incredible sensation going through my body. I knew exactly what was happening, and I didn't want to cause alarm. I didn't want to wake his mother up, but I knew at that point I was being electrocuted. And I guess what had happened was his little brother told me, make sure when you get out you don't hold the side and you just jump out. I didn't hear him say that. And the camper wasn't grounded, meaning it didn't have a wire or a stake going into the ground, a metal rod going into the ground to take all that electricity into the ground. So now I was the grounding apparatus from the camper with our electricity to the ground. So all the electricity is going through me. And my arm was just like on this camper, and I was hanging on the side of it. I could see the whole side of it, and I could think very clearly, and I knew what was happening. So the first thing I said to myself was, yeah, don't alarm anybody. You don't want to wake up his mom. Just let go. So I realized at that point, as most of you already know, when you're being electrocuted, when you're having electric current going through your body, your muscles are all contracting. And I was physically unable to open my fist. My whole fist was holding my whole body up, hanging on this camper, being electrocuted. And then I remember, I didn't care if I woke anybody up at this point. I screamed at the top of my lungs. I said, help me. I screamed it, bloody murder, help me. And they say that your whole life flashes before your eyes in near-death experience, and that's exactly what happened, because in the matter of seconds, I was thinking of everything since I was a little kid till now, and I thought to myself, like, wow, I've never driven a car before. I never got my license. I'm not old enough. I never drove a car, something that I was really looking forward to at that age. I've never had a girlfriend. I've never kissed a girl. I would never see my family again. I've never seen my parents, my siblings, my friends, my grandparents. I would never see anybody again. This was it. And I always hear that when people are dying, they everything goes black. For me, it was everything went white from the outside in. It slowly crept in. It was all white, and it kind of circled in like a spiral, and it just got smaller and smaller until I could only see the side of the camper as I'm holding myself up. And I did not want to die, but at this point, there was really nothing I could do. I kind of accepted it and said to myself, well, you didn't really get to spend too much time on this earth. You didn't really live that long. You didn't really get to experience too many things, but maybe, hopefully, you really don't have a choice. Hopefully there is an afterlife and you get to see what there is next. And everything went white until nothing was there anymore. And the next thing I remember, I was opening my eyes on the ground with the rain coming down on me. And I remember looking up, his little brother was on the right-hand side of me. I was facing the camper, and my friend was in the doorway of the camper. And his little brother was kind of crying and freaking out. I wasn't even crying. I was just like in shock, like literally in shock. I was being electrocuted. I was being electrically shocked because, we'll get pedantic here and say if you're electrocuted, you're death by electricity. So I was being electrically shocked really bad to the point where I could have been electrocuted. So the first thing I remember when I opened my eyes again, I don't know how long I was out or whatever, but I was on the ground and I don't remember that part. But my fingertips and my toes, they hurt really bad. I wasn't burned anywhere, but the muscles in my body had contorted so much that my feet they hurt so bad, like a really, really bad cramp. They hurt like I could barely walk on my feet. And I remember I didn't want to go anywhere near. I kind of got up and backed away from the camper. I didn't want to go anywhere near. I was like traumatized from the electricity, just the thought of electricity. And at that point, it was already late. It was like, midnight, somewhere around there. I wanted to go back in the house. I didn't want to go in the camper again. So he stayed in the camper. And his little brother and me went back in his house, and I slept on the bunk bed. But I needed something to get my mind off of this. His mom never woke up, and I never told my parents, because if I told my parents, I would never be allowed to leave the house again. So I kept that a secret from my parents. I never told my mom until years and years later, probably decades. So we went inside, and I needed something to take my mind off of this. So I was using a paint marker, and we were drawing on the grip tape of our skateboards. So to try to take my mind off of this. I was trying to do something that would, calm my nerves. And then I remember finally his little brother was like, dude, I got to get to sleep. I'm turning the light off. I'm like, just one more, design. And he's like, no, dude. So I'm like, all right, turn the light off. And I was like, all I could think about was this like huge construction guy with like a hard hat coming in and like holding like a big wire with like sparks coming off it and like with a dirty face and like just putting it on me and electrocuting me. Like I had this like reoccurring nightmare of that happening over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. When I went back to my house, I pulled my bed away from like the light socket. I didn't want to go near light sockets. I didn't want to go near electricity, that anything could just shock me again. For a while I was like that, and I'm obviously okay now, but that's my story. And I could have easily been electrocuted and died there, but that didn't happen. So also a couple years later, I remember in 11th grade, I was in a creative writing class and we had to write a poem. I don't remember what kind of poem, but I wrote a poem based on this experience. And I wanted to find that because I save everything. And I probably have it somewhere, but I couldn't find it. I wanted to read that at the beginning of this video and then tell my story and then tell you to go back, and that poem was about this. So I read my poem out to the class, and it was basically, I can't remember everything that I wrote in there, but the gist of it was like, warm summer night, crazy feeling going through my body, closing my eyes, open them again, looking up at the rain coming down on me, and hearing the cars go by the wet street next to me at night. And he said that was a great poem, but I never told him what it was about. I never told anybody what it was about at that point. But yeah, that's one of my near-death experience. And let me know if you want to hear any other ones that I have, because I have a few other ones that I could tell. Let me know in the comments below. And give me a thumbs up, share the video, and subscribe, survive, watch out for zombies, and I'll see you guys in the next video.